Hi, this is Michael Uslan. You're listening to Batman on Film.
Hey now! Welcome to episode 2 of the Batman on Film Satellite Show. I'm your host, Rick Shew. With me is the BOF brother, Ryan Haas. No. Garrett Grev.
Try again.
Pete? I don't know.
No.
Which one of you got? You were kind of the. No one could do the show, so you were one of the reject default BOF guys. Is this Eric?
He's not lying though. That's
is this
really the truth?
Is this Eric or Ryan Lowry?
No, it's Eric.
Not
Lowry. Not Lowry.
Eric. Okay, first of all, this is complete bullshit. I'll tell you why it is. Because Eric Holzmann, it was so. I wanted him to do the show so badly that he flaked on us last week. And then I even just postponed the show so he could still do it. But he did not flake tonight, Courtney. I haven't introduced you yet.
I know. That's okay.
But he's here, and this is, technically his show too anyway, so it's kind of weird to flake on yourself. But Eric Holzmann, how are you?
Or does that mean that you actually have grounds to, move things if it's part of your show?
I suppose. Eric, when's the last time you and I did a podcast together?
Oh, my God. It's been a long time. Let's just put it that way. It's been... Quite a while.
It's been a hot minute. It may have been one on the political spectrum.
I think it was.
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember what we talked about last via Batman on Film. Doesn't matter.
We did. I remember doing a Star Wars trailer review with you. I know we did one of those.
And then we did the Motley Crue movie from Netflix. No, we didn't.
Was I on that? No,
we never did it. When I was pushing the show,
right,
I said,
yes.
We even did a show on the Motley Crue Netflix movie, and Ryan was like, no, we didn't.
That's right.
And it turns out it was just you and I bullshitting about it on the phone. I thought it was a show, but
yes, because I had issues with it, but it's okay. Keep going.
Whatever. Hey, good segue before we obviously introduce our wonderful guest. But the satellite episodes of BOF, for those of you that are listening for the first time, this is obviously the second episode. That's the genesis of this show anyway, right? We a few years back, we just started, me and Eric and Ryan Haas and everybody else. We decided, why can't we do a BOF show and talk about Star Wars? Why, right? And why can't we do a show talking about the Rocky franchise? And, of course, anything DC, well, that was easy. We did Superman.
Yeah.
But that was when, I was MIA in 2020 on BOF for a while. And then when Bill and I were talking recently, the man, the legend, Jet Ramey, he brought it up. He said, dude, why don't you, because, where did I fit in, man? You guys all moved in without me, bro. It was really depressing.
Well, no,
I had no home.
That's true. Pete and I started straight out of Gotham, and then Garrett picked up the BOF podcast. So Bill started doing the video stuff. So everyone kind of just went
their merry way.
Yeah.
Well, they did, and then Bill said, why not do a Batman on Film satellite show? Like, that's the show. And so here we are, and let's introduce our guest first of all, and then we'll talk about the topic.
Yes.
Okay? We have MCU, Disney, self-proclaimed super geek, an all-around badass, returning guest, Courtney Cheek. Courtney,
hello.
How have you been, my friend?
I've been good, as good as everybody else has been in the year of a global pandemic, I suppose. But yeah, it's, been good. Been able to consume a lot of content, which has been great. I work remotely now, which is, no complaints, while pursuing acting still. So that's still, doing the best I can there. But it's been a fun, eye-opening year. Lots of wild rides, but I'm really happy to be here.
That is amazing. We're happy to have you. Eric and I were talking about you coming on and doing something with us. Eric, I think you even brought her up. Not that I wouldn't have anyway.
Hell yeah, Eric.
Hell yeah. But, and I know that you're going to be doing some reviews for us from time to time as well. Is that correct?
Yes, Bill reached out to me and asked me, just, as on an as-needed type of situation. I was like, yeah, you let me know. I'm there. And same with this. If y'all need me, I'm totally game. So I love talking about content. I can never get enough of it.
Well, we appreciate it. So, a little segue here too. On this particular episode, I wanted to talk about Quentin Tarantino and my love for his films, and for us all to sit around as a panel and choose our favorite Tarantino film. And I got lucky that the three of us had three separate ones, so that's great. But Courtney, you had mentioned that you studied these films in college. What did you mean by that?
Yes. Okay. So I was a film major. I studied, my degree is in film, television, digital media, and business. And I got it from TCU and the Bob Schieffer School of Performing Arts and Media. And the film industry is, as we know, all over the place. And so the TCU program is split up into three parts, and you have to have so many course hours across all three sections. The sections are analytics, production, and then what they call industry, which is like the business side of it. So in my analytics classes, I had a professor who loved Tarantino. So my first introduction to Quentin Tarantino, I was very sheltered as a child. So that's probably where all the Disney love comes from, is because that's really all I knew for the longest time. But my first introduction, my freshman year, was Pulp Fiction. And imagine little 18-year-old me sitting there watching this extremely, out of my wheelhouse movie. And I'm just mortified. I'm like, what is this? And then from there.
You mean Bring Out the Gimp wasn't akin to Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck?
Oh my gosh. Like, I just remember
Christ.
sitting there looking at one of my classmates, and she was kind of in a similar situation. She was like, I had no idea this existed. I was like, me neither.
Right.
But we had, so from there, I had to write papers on it. And like you would have what was called labs. And so you'd have your 3-hour classes throughout the week. And then at night you'd have once a week lab. And that's where you would screen either one film or multiple TV shows, or it would be clips. And so I've seen all of the Tarantino's work, and then, his most recent stuff I've seen that too. So yeah, but knocked my mic over. But yeah, so everything from analyzing, his writing style, his shot structure, his character development. I mean, there's a lot we can dig into, and I'll get into it. But yeah, that kind of stuff is what we studied mostly.
I love it. And here's the thing I'm also most proud of this whole group, is that we all chose an actual Tarantino film. Meaning a feature-length film written and directed by the man. In other words, Natural Born Killers was kind of a loose screenplay, although it was bastardized as I understand it, but that was also directed by Oliver Stone. Yep. True Romance was actually written by Tarantino, and it is a perfect Tarantino script, but it was directed by Ridley Scott's younger brother, Tony Scott. And so he also directed like Beverly Hills Cop 2. So you get a style there. And I think he also directed Crimson Tide with Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington. So those weird, almost 60s Batman show artsy angles and lots of red. Anyway, kind of a J.J. Abrams thing. But those are not technical Tarantino films. And then there's some stuff like From Dusk Till Dawn that he directed in 4 rooms, but not the whole thing, right? So true feature-length films. And there's not as many as some people might think, although he's got a great catalog. But the man takes his time making motion pictures. He doesn't put out a film every year. He's right. But, okay, so before we get into this, and Courtney, as our guest, I'm going to have you go first on yours, but let's talk a little MCU, a little DC, and just a little geek stuff just real quick for like 5 minutes, okay?
Let's go. I have a cool thing to drop in here since we're just going to drop this in. So my sister started working for Lucasfilm during 2020. She has an MFA from Texas A&M in animation and stuff. So she's been working on Bad Batch Season 2. She was finally able to tell us, like, when they announced it was picked up, which was like, our whole family was like, that's so cool. So that's really fun.
And listen, speaking of that, so much Star Wars content's going to come our way.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
With Mandalorian Season 3, with the frickin' Obi-Wan stuff. I'm so stoked.
Oh yeah, it's going to be so good.
He won't watch it.
I will watch it.
Have you been watching all the stuff they've been dropping?
I have.
I watch all the live action stuff. I do get behind on the animated stuff. I can't.
Okay.
Oh, you have to. Bad Batch was. I didn't expect.
It was
to like
so
it,
good.
really did.
It's so good.
I don't. And listen, now that I know that your sister is working on it, now it's all the more reason I got to watch it.
I know. Well, and for the longest time, she was like, we're like, okay, so what can you tell us? And she was like, no. And then my boyfriend's a bigger Star Wars fan than I am, and every day he was like, so Caitlin, Can you? And she was like, Taylor, I can't tell you anything. Like, stop asking me. But yeah, we were really excited to learn that.
I just had a great idea for a BOF Satellite episode. You should guest host a show with just you and your boyfriend talking about Star Wars for half an hour.
Oh my God, he would love that.
I'm being dead serious. You should do it.
Do you want me to ask him right now? I'll ask him.
Yeah. we have some shows lined up that myself and Team BOF are going to be hosting, but I'm not kidding. I think that would be fun. I think people would find that entertaining. Okay, so let's get a little bit of MCU reaction from both of you. Especially you, Courtney, just since you're the guest and Eric's opinion sucks. No, I'm just kidding. I love Eric. But the Spider-Man trailer, okay? Mm-hmm. What did you think of the new Spider-Man trailer?
Okay, so I have mixed opinions about this.
Oh, no.
And, okay, so don't get me wrong. I'm excited because it's Spider-Man, and I love Tom Holland so much, and I love Zendaya. Like, I love this cast. This is probably my favorite iteration of all Spider-Mans that we have. It just is. I think he's just the perfect Peter Parker, and he's the perfect Spider-Man.
I agree, and I think, Eric, you would agree with that too, right? You and I are on the same page on this, are we not?
Yeah. Of all the Spider-Men, I liked Garfield too, but I think Holland's the best.
Yep. Yeah. I agree. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
They're all fabulous actors and like they're all very talented, but I just think in terms of like he just is such a good personification and having the essence of like what I imagine is Peter Parker. So I don't know. But I just want to preface that. I feel like with all of the leaks, all of the random comments, all of the like I was just kind of underwhelmed, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I think had all the random like set photo leaks and whatnot and like different cast members saying, oh, I'm in it too. Like I think had that not happened, I probably would be a lot more excited for this. But because all of that has come out, I think it's made me a lot less enthused when that trailer dropped. Granted, I think it's going to be huge and I have no idea how they're going to pack like all these things into this movie. Because, I mean, you watch the trailer every 30 seconds, there's like another hour and a half movie you could make just based on like what they're showing. Right. So I think it's going to be huge. And I think it's going to set up a lot. I'm also curious how they're going to throw the multiverse stuff into it. If you guys have watched Loki, like they basically have opened up the door to really anything at this point. So I'm curious to see how they do that.
Well, I am too. And, you know, obviously we know Tobey Maguire is in it. I am assuming Andrew Garfield is as well. I don't know if that's been officially confirmed or not. But what I find fascinating is, and Eric, I want you to chime in on your thoughts on it as well. Sure. But what I found fascinating is how J.K. Simmons is playing the same character in two different universes. Two different characters, right? Yeah. But that Doc Ock, that is not the Doc. That's him. And my nephew came and stayed with Jen and I, my wife. We live in the Houston area, and he goes to A&M, so he's like an hour from us. So he kind of almost quasi surprised us yesterday. It was really neat. And he and I were sitting here talking about it. And he said, you know, when Doc Ock says, you know, hello, Peter, he's not talking to Tom Holland. He's talking to Tobey Maguire. Just the way the trailer's cut, you think it's him. I'm like, you know what? You're probably right. Because he's like, how would he know that that's Peter Parker? I'm like, well, there's probably ways he would know, but you're probably still right. Eric, so what are your overall thoughts on this?
On that specific?
Well, I'm sorry, just in general, just the trailer, your anticipation for the film, etc.
I kind of hear what Courtney's saying about knowing all the stuff we knew before we saw it. Kind of dampened it a little, but it was cool to see it anyway.
Yeah,
sure. It was cool to see Doc Ock in there. It was cool to hear Willem Dafoe, Rick's favorite actor's voice. In there. It was cool to see the pumpkin bomb. Like, it was just really cool to see all that stuff. As someone, of course, who I remember when those movies came out and how great they were for that time. Mm-hmm. So all that stuff was cool, and I actually like. I am in the minority with a lot of people. I actually like the MCU Spider-Man story. A lot of people have issues with it. I don't. So
let's be fair. A lot of people that are super duper fans on Twitter have an issue with it. General audiences love it. They eat it up. It's right. They just do. Right. Okay. Just that's an important distinction. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, us in this space who have a little more knowledge on these things, we always like what we like and what we're used to. So I think that always filters into my comments. But yeah, the general audience doesn't care. They just want to see a really good Spider-Man film. And so far, we've gotten one. I like Homecoming a lot. Far From Home is not my favorite film.
I would agree with you on that.
But this one really looks good. And what they're attempting to do, and like Courtney said, if you watched Loki, if you saw Shang-Chi...
so good. Oh, my God.
There's a lot of multiverse stuff that is in both of them. And you're going to see, and this just kind of confirms the rest of it, which is of the way that they're going in the future. So the trailer, after seeing those things, the trailer hit a little bit harder because now you have more of an idea of where they're going.
Sure,
which is awesome.
That's fair. Yeah, and that's fair. I loved it, and I didn't love it just to love it. And by the way, I did love Far From Home, legit. And at the time, I was really advocating. I say advocating. I mean, 20 people listened. And really only 19,
all of the power you have,
and only 19 people, and only 19 didn't even really pay attention. But I was a big proponent for Jake Gyllenhaal to be the next Batman, and he was in discussions for it at one point. I think with Matt Reeves directly, in fact. But how far he got or whatever, I don't know. I'm not going to try to claim to know. But I really wanted him to play Batman, so it was really cool to see him as an MCU villain, because in the first film, you have Michael Keaton, who is the Vulture. And I don't know, there's something that's so poetic about all this. And here's also a great segue. It's the third time I've used that word today, but it's an important one in this show because we're going to be all over the damn place.
If you're keeping track, take a drink.
Take a drink. Take a drink every time Rick says segue. But is Michael Keaton's return as Batman next year. And Bill and I were talking about this on the Social Hour show. You could not get away with this 20 years ago. It was unheard of. Actors were typecast. That you couldn't get work. Chris Reeve barely worked after Superman. Yeah. Mm-hmm. George Reeves, particularly from the TV show in the 1950s, that he could not get work. And you saw that kind of stuff time and time again. Now you can play Batman, play a Spider-Man villain. 30 years later, play Batman again. Who cares? Nobody cares.
Well, I think that also speaks to the amount of content and the amount of films, the amount of TV shows, like the amount of stuff that's coming out and that is out in the ether. Everything is so much of a niche audience now, for the most part. Granted, you have these huge blockbuster films like whatever. But I think because there's so much stuff, it's giving actors, especially these big names who have been known as Harry Potter or whoever, like you're getting all of these opportunities to pursue other characters and other types of things that, you're right, 20 years ago, you'd be done. Like, that would have been your contract. That would have been your legacy. And you would have a really hard time finding other things. But I think it says a lot about the industry and how much it's shifting and changing with the opportunities that we're giving. Well,
and it's kind of like comic books in a sense. And Eric, tell me if you think I'm off base with this. You can have different variations of a character simultaneously happening, right? Whether it's like Justice League or Detective or Batman proper or whatever. Right. And then, with different writers, different artists, different interpretations. And we're sort of getting that live action. So in a sense, it's really reflecting comics even more so than it ever has in that regard. Is that a fair thing to say? Is that off base?
No, that's very fair.
Okay.
We're definitely getting, specifically in DC, I mean, we're going to have 3 different Batmen. Right? You're gonna have Keaton, Affleck's supposed to be in the movie as well, and then you're going to have Pattinson's Batman as well. So you have 3 separate guys playing the same character, obviously different and all in different interpretations, which is cool. I hope it doesn't get confusing for the general audience because usually that stuff does. But we'll see how that works out going forward. But it is a really cool time to be a fan of comic books and comic book movies. It
is, and please, when I talk about my favorite Tarantino film, because I didn't even think to bring this up, and it just hit me. Derek, I'm going to put this on you, please, as my friend. Don't let me talk about it without talking about someone being confused, and that's all you have to say. I'll know what you're talking about, and I've got a really cool story. Okay, we're going to shift gears real quick. I'm not going to use the word segue, though. Oh, shit, I said it. Whatever. All right, so here's the next thing I want to talk about before we get into Tarantino is obviously this is Batman on film. So let's talk a little Batman. I just alluded to Michael Keaton's return, but Courtney, did you see the trailer for the Batman movie that's coming out? I mean, it's been about a year now, I guess.
Yes, I did. And I don't know, I may be in a small camp, but I am very excited for Pattinson. I think just as his, like, I used this word earlier, essence, his demeanor, like, and I feel like he's a pretty, like, he keeps to himself, like, he doesn't, parade his personal life around social media. So I figured, like, I can see it really well, and I'm really excited. And I feel like it's going to be a little bit darker than what maybe people were expecting, which I'm okay with. So I think it's going to be really good, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I was a big fan of the Nolan films, so that's anything closer to that vibe, which I feel like is what we're getting from the previous, chunk of films we got. I think it's going to be great, personally.
Eric, could you agree with that more?
I think she's 100% correct on what we're going to get from it. I think the Pattinson thing is the one thing that could hold it back, and that's just because a lot of people only know him from Twilight.
That's true. Yeah,
but this movie's not coming out in 2007, though. You know what I mean?
No, it's not. I'm just saying, if anything, if there's things I've heard people say, that's the thing, that's the biggest one. Every time I bring up him in that film, they're always like, isn't that the guy who played the vampire? Oh, so it's still fresh in people's minds because all of his other stuff, which is fantastic, like all his.
Did y'all see him in
stuff,
The Lighthouse?
Yes.
Y'all seen that? Oh my god! Talk about a weird film, but a fantastic performance. I mean, holy cow! Yeah.
Courtney, that dude's a legit actor. I mean,
I know.
From actor to actor, you and I, that
absolutely,
he is the real deal.
Absolutely.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think to battle that argument about the Twilight films, if you look at Kristen Stewart's career, she just came out with, I guess it's Spencer. Obviously it's not been out anywhere, it's just at film festivals, but apparently it got like a huge standing ovation at, I think it's the Venice Film Festival. I believe that's where I read that. So, I mean, and she doesn't even look like the same person in the ads. Like she looks like on the poster and everything else, all the press images they released. I mean, she looks like a totally different person. So I'm hoping that's what that same trajectory of, holy cow, like look what this person can do when you strip them away from this, franchise that was beloved by women all over the world. Like, I think it's just going to be hopefully very different, and that will be, for him what Spencer has been for Kristen Stewart.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. Okay, I mean, here's the deal. At Fandom, we're going to get some more footage. I don't know if it's another trailer per se, but like a sizzle reel, whatever it is. I am stoked to see more footage. I haven't been this excited for a movie since probably The Dark Knight. And I was excited for The Dark Knight Rises, don't get me wrong, but The Dark Knight hype was like 89 hype. And I'm starting to feel that with this. And the same year, we're getting Michael Keaton back and the aforementioned Ben Affleck. Look, Keaton is toe-to-toe with my favorite Batman as Christian Bale. And the idea of him coming back so unexpectedly, like who would have thought that we would be getting Michael Keaton back as Batman? I mean, ever. I guarantee you he didn't think that. Yeah. And we're going to have him back next year with Tobey Maguire, and I'm comparing them on this level only, is they both helped, to give them both a massive amount of credit, launch these live-action incarnations of these characters that we love, and really, unless you want to count the Electric Company, and I'm dating myself with that reference.
I remember it.
Yeah. I mean, truly the first live-action Spider-Man, and then obviously the first serious live-action Batman. So it's a great year to be a fan, and 2022 is going to be a really great year to be a Batman fan. Okay, yeah. One last quick thing. I'm going to do this on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being like, I'm stoked. 1, don't care. The new Matrix trailer comes out tomorrow. I love the trilogy. I unapologetically love the sequels. On a scale of 1 to 10, Courtney, are you excited for this film?
Yes, I'm going to say, because I haven't seen the trailer yet, so it's going to be hard for me to like really say it, but I'll say I'm probably between 7 and an 8, just because I do love the films. I didn't see them until probably within the last 5 or 6 years, like watching all 3 of them back to back. We studied them in college. That's another one we studied because of its impact on culture and social culture and the way we talk to each other and the movements that we do and the style of everything. Like it had such a huge impact if you look back on it, which I feel like just says a lot about that whole filmmaking process, and the fact that there's 2 other films that, if you think about it, are very similar in story, but also, I don't know, it's that's a whole other podcast, a whole other thing. I am excited, but I will have a better justification once I see the trailer.
Yes, which is tomorrow, 100% tomorrow. Eric, yes. What about you?
I'm at about a 7. I like you. Like all 3 of the films. I don't, obviously the second and third one aren't as good as the first, but I do like all 3 of them. So I am anticipating this. I I just don't know if it's needed, I guess, and that's really not for me to say, but I don't know. I'm kind of in that space where, yes, I'm anticipating, I think it's cool, we're going back, but because I always want, like, it ends where they kind of reset the Matrix, so I was always wondering, like, what's going to happen next now? Are they going to pick up from there? I don't know the story, so that stuff's kind of intriguing. So yeah, I'd say I'm at a 7. I'm more intrigued than want it or need it, but that's where I'm at.
I'm just ready for the action sequences.
Right. Yes. I want to see if they've improved a little bit or if they're the same. I mean, we've gotten a lot of slow-mo from Zack Snyder since that movie. Like, he's kind of adopted some of the things the Wachowskis did.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it turns out. But I'm at a 7. It's hype, but not overhype.
It's not overhyped. That's right. But we'll see. By the time this is live, the trailer will have dropped. We'll see how it plays out. But I'm stoked. I didn't think we were going to get another Matrix film. I can't wait to do a podcast on the whole. I can't even call it a trilogy anymore. Kind of like you can't call Indiana Jones a trilogy anymore. Boo. Because there's 4. because 4 does exist, and there's going to be a new one.
Yeah.
All right.
That's true.
Let's transition here to the topic of the day. Quentin Tarantino. All right. So, dynamic filmmaker, controversial filmmaker, not everyone's cup of tea. Not at all. So
that's true.
Not at all. So let's discuss his work. We all decided that we would choose our favorite Tarantino film, and I do know that they're all very different, which is awesome. And I love all 3. I'll just say that up front. Courtney Cheek, what is your favorite Quentin Tarantino film?
So I went with the Kill Bill films. I guess if I had to pick one, I mean one, because it's like the original, but the both of them as a whole are, I think, probably my favorite. And I think, a lot of this probably stems from the fact that it's a strong, badass female lead. Like, you have Uma Thurman kicking ass all over the place. And she's unapologetic, and I love it. And I just love, like, the ownership of the character and how she doesn't take anybody's shit, which I feel like when this came out, which, I mean, thinking of that, the second one came out in 2004. The first one came out, let me get my thing back up here, I just lost my page.
2003.
2003, thank you. 2003, so they're back to back. Like, when those came out, you didn't have a ton of strong female leads. The Bechdel test is still, like, that at that point in time was being failed left and right. So the fact that this woman took this 2 film back to back and turned it into an incredible homage to badass women is amazing, and I love it.
Yes. And who better to be a badass than Uma Thurman?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And I have to say, with the Kill Bill films, I have to look at these as one movie, right?
Yeah,
and it's volume 1 and volume 2. It's sort of dancing around the fact that it's a sequel anyway. Yeah. I can't remember if he was filming any of this stuff simultaneously or not. I don't know. I'm assuming he probably was. But what I can tell you for me, and I love these films, or love the film, however you want to phrase it, is both have action and both have heart. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the first one is really the action and the setup, and the second one is the nuance and it's the heart. And it's not just because she finds her daughter necessarily, it's because she also finds herself. Yeah. And even the fighting is more personal in this one, right? You take the first film. It's very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's violent, but it's almost cartoonish, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
definitely.
It's so crazy over the top that you kind of, it's just borderline ridiculous. But then you look at the fight between her and Daryl Hannah in the second one, in the trailer house or wherever they're at, and that's a personal fight. You look at towards the end of the film with her and Bill, it's a very personal fight. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of what Tarantino does in films that is fascinating for an American filmmaker to do this, is how he has the ability to he has the ability to create silence on film when you don't a lot of filmmakers were afraid to do that. That's something you see in the theater, but to actually have a filmmaker that's doing it in live action, to use silence, because if you're sitting in an audience, if you're on stage and there's silence between the actors. That's different because there's a live audience there and they can feel the tension, they can sense it. It's real, it's in the room, it's contagious. It's not like that on film, except when Tarantino does it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's other filmmakers that have pulled it off, I have no doubt, but it's a very rare thing. And man, there's so many scenes in Volume 2 particularly where silence is like gold, and there's
it becomes almost like an additional character throughout
it
the
does.
films.
Silence is a character in those films, just like very much like a soundtrack would be. A score, a score is a better word to use. So, Eric, what do you, as a person that loves these films, what do you think?
I like kung fu, karate, all those kinds of things. So that element too is what originally got me into it, made me want to see it. Because I remember seeing the trailer, I'm like, oh, this looks really cool. And I agree with Courtney. It's one of those movies one of the first movies I could remember where the females, the women were like the strongest characters in the films. And it was totally part of its time. Like Vivica Fox is in it, and she was hot at that time. Like it just kind of fit its era as well. It's just a very, very well-made film. Obviously, it's got most of the Tarantino earmarks, as you were saying, like it's very cartoonish, the first one, and the second one kind of gets to the meat and bones of what the story's actually about. So it's a Tarantino, like it's hard to explain it. Tarantino's one of those guys you say it's a Tarantino film, but everyone's like, yes, exactly, that's what you mean. Yeah. So, like that's kind of how it is. The music, I'm what's it called? I remember the score. I know RZA did it from the Wu-Tang Clan. I'm a big hip hop fan, so that was also awesome. I love the music in it. So yeah, it's just a really, really Tarantino film.
Yes. Okay, so Courtney, you're saying that the Kill Bill films in a lot of ways is quintessential Tarantino, but also a departure from his work. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I feel like that's fair. I mean, I think for me, and Eric and I were bantering about this earlier, it's the first time I can remember from when I was a little girl seeing all the superhero movies and going, where are the girls? Where are the women? And, seeing that he really was the first one to do this. He was the first one to take a woman, and multiple women, not just one, multiple, and empower them to lead a film in a really fantastic, badass way. They weren't fanning over a guy. They weren't, yes, revenge on that's part of it. But there's 3 women that are all owning their power. And I think that is just so different from pretty much any other film you'd really seen up to that point and some of his other work.
Absolutely. And it was multiracial as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you had a badass black girl. You had a badass Asian girls everywhere, actually. Yeah. And then you had Daryl Hannah, you had Uma Thurman, it was just, he tapped into something because, he's a very, like I said at the top of the show, he's a very controversial filmmaker.
Absolutely.
And he is certainly not afraid to deal with race and in uncomfortable ways. I was watching Reservoir Dogs just a couple days ago with my wife, and I'll be honest with you, that's not my favorite Tarantino film. I'm glad nobody chose it. But some of the language, it makes you sick. You're like, Jesus Christ. But that's how people talk. Yeah. Bad people, not people we're supposed to like. This isn't rainbows and unicorns, right? Yeah. And the way that it's fascinating how many I don't want to get too into political stuff here, but how many men and women of race don't have a problem working with him because they know that his work is real, it's honest, it's raw, it's not his opinion or his thoughts, it's just how he captures and writes characters that are so just GD. I can watch a Tarantino film and see some of his characters. I knew that dude. I went to high school with that guy. That guy. Maybe not him, but like Chris Penn's character in Reservoir Dogs. I went to high school with that dude.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
It's truly a mirror in some ways. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard, you read things on the internet and you hear things. Like I heard, many times through listening to podcasts or anything else, that he does really work with the people that he cast, and he wants their experiences in real life to be somehow reflected in their characters. Or at least that's what I've, read online and various other things. But I just think it just speaks to his ability as a filmmaker to look at the world around him and not be scared to show a Hollywood version of that.
Absolutely. That's very well said. He's a very honest, true filmmaker. Yeah. maybe
Yeah,
even.
I mean, no one picked Django, but the amount of times the N-word is used in that
Oh my
movie,
gosh.
I mean, and Jamie Foxx is the lead. Samuel L. Jackson
yeah.
is in the movie. I mean, these are black men, and Kerry Washington, and they're okay working with him. So
because they know it's not. They know it's not his point of view. He's just he's representing characters. And I tell you what, in Kill Bill, what I love about those films is that I don't think there's another one of his movies that, and I mentioned this with the sort of the action and the heart. That was just my personal opinion. But just in the totality of those films, I don't know another film that he's done that has the heart that Kill Bill has, right? And I don't know if it's because it's a larger female cast, and I say that with the utmost respect. I'm like, I have daughters. I want nothing but little girls around. I don't even want sons. Like I say that as someone who there is something beautiful about tapping into that emotional angle that sometimes men sadly can not represent, or not represent. Eric, what's the word I'm looking for? Fulfill, or I don't know.
I think
it's hard to say exactly how I'm trying to say it, but he taps into something that's truly emotional in that film, and I do think because it's a little bit more female driven that maybe that's why we get that, and that's a good thing. It's a positive.
Well,
thing.
and I also think it's showing, the maternal instincts of women. Like I think it's just different. Like as a woman, when like one of my younger sisters was bullied, like she was my sister, I'm going to step up and kick their butt like that. It's just different versus I think as a woman seeing this and having that heart and that emotion that's tied to your actions versus, men just have a whole different processing system. And I think that has a lot to do with the emotional pull and tug that is woven throughout these two films.
And Courtney, you just saved me because that's what I was trying to say. I was trying to frame it.
See,
in that
that's
way.
why I'm a woman. I know these things.
Right. And by the way, I'm also not. I'm also, yeah, it's true. But I'm also not sitting here trying to like be politically correct. And
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah, no, I get it.
I got to try to phrase it the right way. I legit have a hard time sometimes explaining what I mean by that because I don't know how to tap into it fully and verbalize it. But there is a heart to those films that just isn't in any of his other films, in my view. And I tell you, the last scene with her and Bill, and really the whole thing when she shows up and sees her daughter for the first time, and the look on her face, and that was the cutest little girl, by the way.
Oh yeah, she's adorable.
Oh my God! But that whole scene, all the way to the end, and how he dies with dignity, and you even care about him. Yeah, he's charming, and he's interesting, and he's smart, and he's worldly, and he's a son of a bitch. And he even says it. I think he even says, "I'm a cold-blooded, natural-born killer, son of a bitch," or something like that. But that scene drags on for a damn hour. It seems like, but it doesn't. But okay, I shouldn't use the word drag because it doesn't drag. I think it actually is. It's long. It's, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes, and I am hanging on to every word and every moment and the silence when he shoots her with the stun gun, or that fucking, what is that thing he shoots her with? That it's like sterile.
There you go, Rick.
What is it?
No, there. Now we have to make this an explicit show.
No, stop. It's just it's old school BOF, bro. Nobody cares. But the thing, he knocks her out. He said, "Sedate, sir. What's the word I'm looking for here? Help me out. The dart. The poisonous
tranquilizers.
The tranquilizer.
That's the word I was looking for too. I was like, I'm thinking of horse. A horse. Why am I thinking of horse?
I'm about to pause the show and Google tranquilizers her. Good Lord, thank you. But what a great setup for this being a comic book centric, obviously, podcast. Let's talk about that speech at the end of the film, and let's see if we agree with this take, because I love how out of nowhere Bill just says, she's sitting there. It's like a truth serum also, right? She has to say the truth because he shoots her with this damn truth serum tranquilizer combo. But all of a sudden he's like, as you know, I'm quite keen on comic books. And I remember in the theater going, what? Where is this going? I wasn't anticipating that. And he goes on and talks about his take on Superman. Eric, do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't recall the speech. I haven't seen the movie in a while.
So I'm going to read it. Okay, not the whole. I'm going to read it fast for purposes of the show, but it's important. He says, and this is again Bill at the end of the second film, which is the end of the whole story.
Right, I remember doing the speech. Yes,
and she's truth serumed. she's tranquilized, and she's on the couch, and her daughter's asleep in the next room or watching TV, eating a sandwich, whatever she's doing. But he says, as you know, I'm quite keen on comic books. I do not have this memorized, by the way. I did pull this up, especially the ones about superheroes. I find the whole mythology surrounding superheroes fascinating. Take my favorite superhero, Superman. Not a great comic, not particularly well drawn, but the mythology. The mythology's not only great, it's unique. Mm-hmm. Now, a staple of superhero mythology is there's the superhero and there's the alter ego. Batman is actually Bruce Wayne. Mm-hmm. Spider-Man is actually Peter Parker. When this character wakes up in the morning, when that character wakes up in the morning, he's Peter Parker. He has to put on the costume to become Spider-Man. And it is that characteristic that Superman stands alone. Superman didn't become Superman. Superman was born Superman. When Superman wakes up in the morning, he's Superman. His alter ego is actually Clark Kent. His outfit with the big red S and the blanket wrapped around him as a baby when the Kents found him, those are his clothes. What Kent wears, the glasses, the business suit, that's the costume. That's the costume Superman wears to blend in with us. Clark Kent is how Superman views us. And what are the characteristics of Clark Kent? He's weak. He's unsure of himself. He's a coward. He's a coward. Clark Kent is Superman's critique on the whole human race. End quote.
Yep.
Yeah.
Eric, I want you to respond first on this one, if you don't mind. What do you think of that take? Do you agree?
Yeah, actually, I do. It's
Clark Kent is how Superman views us.
I remember it now. And now that you read it, I remember the scene and everything. Yeah, it kind of makes sense, right? Like Clark Kent is Superman is who he is normally. So Clark Kent, like you said, is his alter ego. He's the guy who Superman needs to be for us to accept him in this world. And that's how he gets by every day. So that's how he hides who he really is. And yeah, that's perfect. I think that's a perfect quote.
It's a perfect quote. It's a great monologue, and again, it wraps up a beautiful story. Courtney, and obviously feel free to chime in on this. But before we transition to Eric's favorite film, what's a standout moment in those films to you? And I'm going to share with you mine.
Oh gosh, that's so hard. That's really hard. The one that's just stuck in my brain right now is this, like, it's the scene where Lucy Liu's character, like, just beheads a guy and just starts talking in another language. I don't know which language it is. Kind of just monologuing, like,
yes.
I just
that's in the first
that
one.
whole scene. Yeah, it's in the first one. I just remember watching it, and I just remember, like, first of all, being, like, slightly mortified. Second of all, just being like, holy cow, like, this is amazing. Like, that is just, I just remember just watching it and just, like,
I did.
Yeah.
I did too, and I remember thinking, man, that's the girl from what did she
Charlie's Angels.
Charlie's Angels. But no, but before that, was it like ER? Was it?
Oh yeah, she's
Ally
been
McBeal. Right?
Yeah, she's been in a ton of stuff. She's had an amazing career.
No, yeah, but anyway, yeah, I can't remember, but I just remember it was such a departure from her, and here she is, this murdering badass.
Yeah, because I think Uma Thurman, like, you see her throughout the film. She like, her character, like, she does have a an arc and growth, but I think that was the moment where I just was not expecting that out of Lucy Liu's character and her. Like, it just was so, like you said, a departure and so unexpected, but it was also so empowering and just awesome. I loved it.
It's awesome. Oh, I do. I love that scene. But I'll tell you mine. I don't know why. It's Michael Madsen, and it's and he's like Tom Sizemore before Tom Sizemore, by the way. But it's his moment of truth where Daryl Hannah shows up, and she obviously, that's her guy, right? And they've been through hell and back together. Yeah. But she kills him with that damn that snake, that whatever specifically it is. It's a snake.
Black Mamba?
Yes. And like he doesn't, I didn't see that coming. And she kills him not because she hates him. because he didn't quite respect the bride enough to kill her properly. And because by virtue of that, he had to die. And he had to die a slow, painful death.
That's what happens when you don't take women seriously.
That's right. That's right.
You kill us with snakes?
That's right.
All sorts of things. We're very unique and resourceful.
God, those are great films, man. I love
Trust
them.
me, I know.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad you chose those. So thank you, Courtney.
Yeah, of course.
All right. So Eric, before you say yours, let's be completely honest about something. You and I kind of had the same one.
Yes, we did.
We did. But here's the deal. I want to be completely transparent with our audience here. What I said to myself is, Inglourious Basterds is probably my favorite Tarantino film too, but Jesus, it is so hard to call Pulp Fiction my second. And spoiler alert, I'm going to cover Pulp Fiction. I think I love them equally. And it was really easy to say, you know what? It's still going to be an honest show for me to say Pulp Fiction is my favorite, and you cover that one, and we're solid. Mm-hmm. And so Inglourious Basterds is yours.
Yes.
And before you say anything, I'm just going to say this. The opening scene of that movie might be my favorite opening scene of any film of all time. Any film. You see, what is the actor's name?
Christoph Waltz.
Yes. Okay. In that scene, yeah, he plays the Jew hunter, the Hans or whatever. He speaks 3 languages within a matter of minutes, which is French, German, and English.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When he's talking to the farmer, the French farmer, that guy's freaking brilliant. But when he says to him, I'm assuming since they haven't said anything, they don't understand English, and then you realize why he actually transitioned to English. Because he tried to play it off that his French wasn't that great and he was embarrassed. He could speak English better. And he understands that he can speak English. Let's speak English. And the whole time, that was just so the Jewish family underneath would not understand him. It's riveting. And it goes back to something I said earlier about silence. That scene between the two of them at the table, I could see that in a play. I could see that in a play. So it's a satire, obviously. I think it is. It's a satire, obviously, on the killing of Hitler and that time period.
Yeah.
And the Germans' occupation of France. But it is, man, it is so good.
It really is. I'm a history buff. I like history. So anything like this having to do with obviously anything historical points. Obviously, this is a World War II inspired time, and it's just I love all of that. I think the acting in all of his films. I think this is the best film for the acting. It's when you think back of all the people who are in it. Michael Fassbender. After this, he became a much bigger actor. Obviously, Christoph Waltz, who won the Academy Award for this. I mean, it's just a mess. To me, the acting in this is incredible. And the story is funny, depressing.
Yeah.
It's got like all these different things in this one film. And I love it so much. It's one that, again, there's a lot of blood in it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, all of that. And a lot of times you don't want to watch things like that over again. But this is one movie I do go back to and I will watch again. Because Christoph Waltz's performance to me is just incredible. And every scene he's in, whether it's the scene you mentioned or when they're in the restaurant with the apple turnover and he's eating the apple turnover, or Shoshana sitting there, again, like you said, silence. It's just like these moments where there's nothing happening and the tension is so thick. There's so many parts of this film I could go to and talk about how great they are.
When they're playing the card game, dude, the guest, and that's going somewhere bad. You know it. Tarantino's not going to do a 10-minute scene on a card game without it going.
Everything has purpose. Everything has a very intentional purpose. Yeah.
Well, except for my girl brushing her teeth for 10 minutes in Pulp Fiction, that was pointless. But other than that, yes. but you're right, Courtney. It does. It has a purpose, and the setup. There's like 1,000 setups in that film, and I don't even know. I don't even know how to analyze this movie. It's just freaking brilliant. Courtney, did you, and forgive me on this, I don't know if you mentioned this at the top of the show, but when you studied his films, were you already out of college at this point, or did you study this one as well?
So, no, I was in college. So this came out when I was in high school. And so there's a scene
and I honestly can't remember the year, so forgive me.
Oh, yeah. No, you're fine. I think this one, I had my list pulled up because I was like, I know I can get these years right now. This one came out in 2009. So I was still in high school.
God, I'm old. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. But when I was a senior in high school, this had come out, I guess, a few years before. Anyways, and so I went to a New Tech high school, and this is just a funny story about this movie this is like exactly where my brain goes every time Sonya mentions Inglourious Basterds. So I went to a New Tech high school, and it was kind of hard to get in. It was like there are always these lines, blah, blah, blah. So the scene where he's just yelling at everyone and just like, they made this video and they put in false subtitles about how Hitler didn't get into New Tech. And every time I hear this movie, I just laugh. And like this clip is just so funny.
Yeah, there's been a lot of clips made from a lot of clips made from that scene.
Yes.
All over, yes.
Oh, it's so funny. And like I can't think of that movie without thinking of that clip. And just the amount of times I've seen it, and it's just hilarious. And like I don't know, it's just one of those brilliant Tarantino moments where he's able to take a story that's in another language and it's applicable to pretty much anybody on any topic you want to make it. Like it's just so fun and so brilliant, but it's such a good film. But yes, I did study this one in college as well. And this was, I think, a major case study on not just storytelling, but the use of language and how important subtitles versus a foreign language, and like having that tool in your belt of speaking 5, 6, 7 languages, what that can do in an international situation. Like the use that he was very deliberate in when they spoke certain languages, I think is really interesting and a really good aspect to the story.
Absolutely. And even Arrivederci when they let's not talk about Brad Pitt. That dude, is there anybody cooler than Brad Pitt on the planet other than maybe Bourdain, rest your soul, but my God. Pitt is like he's the real deal, man. He's a serious actor.
Yeah.
And his role is a riot. I mean, my God, he's funny. But that whole thing where he's like the Italian escort or whatever, and then all of a sudden that Hans Christoph Waltz can speak Italian also.
Yeah. Like the amount of moments that language just provides such, just like whether it's humor or just like resolve tensions or creates it, like it's such a key player, and it becomes almost like another character itself.
It does.
Right, and the tell for like Fassbender when he's talking, they could tell he's not speaking proper German, even though he actually is German. That was the other thing. Like, the actor is actually German, and the fact that they did that is awesome too. There's so much going on in the movie.
Because of his accent. And then when he said bring three glasses, and he puts his fingers up wrong. That's what you're referring to, correct?
Yeah.
And that a German would never put his fingers like that. That's the reveal, right? It was the way his fingers were positioned, if I remember correctly.
And the way they noticed too, the way he speaks, like it's not the way a German speaks.
It's like a textbook German versus like
there's
local German.
There's no dialect. Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's
so good.
It's
just such a good use of that.
So good, man. Everything that movie just oozes with brilliance. Every freaking scene. There's not a moment wasted in that movie.
Yeah.
And I
love the whole scalping. That's what they were doing. They were fighting Nazis and scalping them.
Yeah.
It's like out there. It's such a him thing to do.
Oh, and then the last scene where they get Hans, and it's like, I think this is your best work, or whatever it says to him. It's just, God bless. It is so warped and so demented.
Yeah.
But it's brilliant writing, and the actress that plays the actress that plays the actress, Bridget, what's her name? Diane Kruger. Hold on. Where's my IMDb?
I'm gonna look. Yeah, I'm looking this up right now.
I think I
don't know.
It's Diane Kruger. Yes, Bridget,
Diane Kruger. Yeah.
Bridget von Hammersmark.
Yes.
Okay, she is so good, and when she realizes that the Jew hunter knows who that shoe belongs to. Mm-hmm.
She's just spectacular as it is. I mean,
she's spectacular. God, everybody in this movie's good. Yeah, Eli Roth is good. Now I have it, and then I had a big crush on the
Melanie Laurent.
Yes, she was great.
Yeah, gosh, gorgeous French woman. Yeah,
just great. And Mike Myers was great in. I forgot he's in that. He plays the colonel, the general, whatever. Oh, dude, so many great characters. Such a great film.
Yeah,
it's satirical. It's weird. It's smart. It's goofy. It's serious.
Yeah.
And it's I think it might be his magnum opus in a lot of ways.
For me, it is.
Well, this is going to be my okay,
segue?
I can't say segue, and I've already said transition twice.
Dang it, we needed someone to take another drink.
It's going to be my move. So when choosing my favorite, and that you took that one, I said, fine, I'll take Pulp Fiction because, listen, I saw this movie with my cousin, rest his soul. Man, he and I were like thick as thieves, and we saw that movie in the theater together probably, oh boy, I don't even know, man, 10, 15 times. Next to Batman 89, it's and The Dark Knight. Those two films I've seen more in the theater than any film. But probably third would be Pulp Fiction. And
wow.
Yeah, it was. I think it was summer of '94. Mm-hmm. I think that's right. It was in '94. I would say no. And what was fascinating about Pulp Fiction to me was, I remember in '98 being a senior at University of North Texas and being at a party, and that movie playing, and everybody's watching it, and I'm going, "Huh, that's cool." It's like 4 years later, and then I remember an ex-girlfriend of mine. Her and I being at a party in like 2001, 2002, and like there were people playing it and they were watching it, and I was like, this is interesting. And then just as time went on, I started to realize this movie transcends through time because it was jaw-dropping and so radically different. And Eric, I had to ask you to remind me of being confused, right? The story is this. One of the times in the theater I saw it, there was a woman that literally got up and was telling, it was AMC, Gus Thomason, Mesquite, Texas, and this lady is yelling at the usher that the movie is looping because it starts over, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I remember,
That's funny.
I was doing a play in college. It was it was like a Neil Simon show, maybe. What play was that? I don't remember now. It was one of the, the architects of like American playwriting in the 1960s and 70s. One of those shows. I did a million of them. But I remember just being at rehearsal with this actor, and he was great. Older guy. He came, I mean, he's in his 50s, coming to do a college production with us. And he and I were talking about Pulp Fiction. And he looked at me, he said, "What's your favorite character in the film?" I said, "It's hard to say. I mean, first of all, I grew up with John Travolta with like Urban Cowboy and all that stuff in Grease. So it was really neat to see him not doing something where he's talking to babies with the reject from Cheers." Sorry. I'm unapologetically a Shelley Long fan. Not going to, it is what it is. But, we started talking about Sam Jackson, and as the conversation went on, he and I sort of, I don't know if osmosis is the right word, but there was some kind of synergy that he and I had going back and forth with each other that it kind of dawned on us at the same time what a brilliant moment that scene is with Sam Jackson at the end of the film. And he's holding his gun at Tim Roth and he's threatening him with his life, and he is not fucking around. I mean, he's going to kill him. Right. At the same time, he wants to save him. And to be able to capture those two conflicting things in your eyes, in your face, in your tone, and your inflection is
your body language. Perhaps
his finest moment on film.
I think for John Travolta, obviously it rebirthed his career, and for Sam Jackson, it kind of put him where we know him to be now.
I totally agree with that.
Right?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, in this film in general, like this was one of the ones I remember in college, what my professor at the time was like, this is what changed independent movies. Like this is what changed film festivals. Like film festivals were not what they are today before this film, or at least that's what, my professor said. Granted, I was not alive at that time. Let me preface that. But it just kind of overlapped what people thought independent movies were and what they could be and who they appealed to. And I think because of that, it was just, again, so unexpected, which is Tarantino's very good at that. But I think it really just kind of took people and characters and actors and flipped everything on its head and presented it to the audience, was like, hey, check this out. It's going to confuse you, to your point, but it's going to be an instant classic that, like you said, transcends time, and everybody can find something about it that they think is brilliant.
Yes, and it's endless brilliance. And listen, one of the things that stands out to me in this movie is the reference to Green Acres, okay? So this is 1995. I used to watch that stupid show with my grandfather, and it was like a show.
Yeah, my dad loves that show.
A show from the 60s. And John Travolta and Sam Jackson are sitting there, and they've been on like a murdering spree. They're wearing someone else's clothes. It's just so effed up. They've had the gimp. They've had all that stuff. And they're sitting there. All of a sudden, he's like, "Hey, man, you want some bacon?" He's like, "No, I don't dig on swine." And I'm paraphrasing here. He's like, but bacon tastes good. Pork chops taste good. I'll never forget that. Pork chops taste good. I'm like, hell yeah, they do. I remember the audience thinking that. And he's like, but pigs eat their own shit, so why would I do this? I said, well, a dog does as well. He's well, I don't eat dog either. He's like, but would you consider a dog to be a filthy animal? He's like, well, dogs got personality, so personality goes a long way. And so John Travolta's like, wait a minute. So you're telling me that if a pig had a better personality, he'd cease to be a filthy animal? And Sam Jackson's like, he pauses. Yep. It stopped him in his tracks, right? He's like, He's like, I see your point. But that'd have to be one charming mother effing pig. He'd have to be 10 times more charming than that Arnold on Green Acres. Yep. And I remember going, a Green Acres reference? I died. I just died. It's so good. And there's so many little scenes that are like when not the wolf, but Marcellus Wallace, when he's talking to Bruce Willis, and he's like, "Pride's gonna mess you up, man. It's messing with you." That whole moment, and you just see the back of this dude's head. You don't even see his face.
I know. Like
who does that? Yeah. Who can pull that off? I mean, and now it might seem commonplace, but it wasn't. And to whoever said it, Courtney, whoever, it changed filmmaking. And for me, Courtney, I was really active in the film scene in the late 90s with, I'm not claiming I have a strong resume to back this up, but I was active in the sense of auditioning and immersed in that world and had some close breaks. But all that stuff from Chasing Amy to Bottle Rocket to, you name it, even in a large degree, Office Space, which was a comedy, but
that
still.
That was an indie film,
Yeah, but all that stuff was, I auditioned for that film. It was a fun experience. But Pulp Fiction paved the way for that. That's why. Now, it ran its course. It was kind of like glam rock, and Nirvana had to come along and kick it in his ass. And at some point, we had to, I don't know, I guess Tony Stark had to come along and get rid of a bit of filmmaking. But it had a great run. But man, that film is groundbreaking.
Yeah.
I don't know why she brushes her teeth for 10 minutes, though. That's a weird scene.
Yeah.
I hadn't really thought about that till I kind of had forgotten about it, but yeah, you're not wrong.
Maybe she has to get all the blueberries out of her teeth because she likes blueberry pancakes so much. I don't know.
The Travolta thing is wild, though. The Travolta casting is wild. It was supposed to be Madsen. He was supposed to be the role. Harvey Weinstein wanted Daniel Day-Lewis to play the role. Travolta took, I think, like only $100,000 or something for the film, like total. And now obviously this film has gone on to make millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
But it's crazy when you think about it. Like he was not part of the zeitgeist of the time.
No.
And they, like I said, I just mentioned Madsen, who works with Tarantino all the time. He was wanted for the role. And then Daniel Day-Lewis, who, in my opinion, is the best actor of my generation. Harvey Weinstein wanted him. It's just crazy that you think that a guy, John Travolta, who everyone thought's career was done, and this movie comes and pushes him back into the starlight.
Yeah, let's not hijack this conversation here. I'll leave that up to me. But I got to address the 800-pound gorilla in the room. It's kind of eerie that we have to reference Harvey Weinstein like that, because I mean, the man. Let's set aside his unsavory garbage, and may he rot in jail. But is there even a but there? It's awful. With that said, in terms of these films, I mean, they wouldn't have existed without him. It's a real it's a conundrum, man. It's like it's tough. It's tough stuff. But anyway, I just wanted to at least address that because we're throwing his name around.
He financed a lot of these films. So
yeah, he did for sure. I mean, he was brilliant at what he did. He was just a son of a bitch. He was a sick bastard. Yeah. Okay, but moving on from that. So here we are, guys, and I don't know. I don't even know what to say because I love so many of his other films. I think his most underrated, overlooked film is Jackie Brown, honestly.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I think it got a little bit of a bad, I don't know, to come back after Pulp Fiction. I think people were expecting something different. And, well, they did get something different. That was the whole point. But I think they were expecting something different than what they got. So it was interesting. I don't know if that was a setback. I don't have any data to back that up, but I do know that just anecdotally that friends were underwhelmed and disappointed, and that was the next film. But then he comes out and does all these other great movies, man. And obviously the True Romance stuff was a big deal. Even though he didn't direct it, it was still his story. You can feel it. You can sense it. Mm-hmm. I still wonder sometimes what would that movie have been like if he directed it, and I'm glad he didn't because I love it. And if he directed it, it would be different. But the way that actors handle the dialogue is different. It's not the same.
Yeah,
it's just not right. But
and it just depends on how a director is going to empower an actor either to own it and make those choices, as supposedly Tarantino does, versus other directors, who are very much this is what you have to say it like that. Like there's just such a difference in directing styles, and I think that really changes performances.
Sure, and what I understand, Courtney, is Tarantino is not very keen on actors ad-libbing. He's like, no, I wrote these words. You're saying these words. That kind of actor will not fly with him. He wouldn't have cast Laurence Olivier. It's shocking that he even cast Gary Oldman, to be honest with you. Well, actually, no, I take that back. He didn't cast Gary Oldman. That was not his casting. That was in True Romance. Wow. Anyway, even I do it. I inadvertently just do it. But I will say this: one of my favorite Tarantino lines is actually in True Romance, and who cares if he didn't direct it? He still wrote it. And I'll say F for the F word here, but and Bill Ramey will appreciate this, being the big Elvis fan that he is. But Christian Slater's character is sitting at the bar and he's watching Elvis. He's like, and again, I don't have this pulled up. This is spontaneous. I'm paraphrasing. He's like, I watched that guy. When I looked at him, I wanted to be that cat. I wanted to be that guy. And she's like, I'd F Elvis. And he said, you would? He goes, well, when he was alive. He goes, really? He goes, oh, I'd F Elvis too. It's nice to meet people with common interests or something like that. And you're going, what? Like, that's your conversation? You're meeting a girl at the bar and you're like, well, we both F Elvis, so let's have a drink. And it's just so funny to me. Like, who can pull that off? But, he can.
All right. Let me ask, because you said this on Twitter and now I kind of want to know why. Why is Reservoir Dogs overrated? I want you to explain that.
Ooh,
well, okay, so obviously it's his first film, and that always has a special place in my heart when filmmakers have their baby, right? So I have to always take that into consideration. But I just feel like sometimes when I'm talking to people about that movie, I'm going, man, he has much smarter dialogue in other films and much better character development, and that's why. I feel like sometimes that one is put on a pedestal that it shouldn't be put on. Look, I guess in a weird way, I can look at it like Star Wars, Eric, if you can bear with me for a second. So, look, Empire Strikes Back is it's a Rick word. We ready? Empirically a better film than the original Star Wars.
Oh, boy.
Okay, right?
Take a drink.
Empirically, segue, transition. But you have to appreciate what Lucas was working with on that first film, or his limitations and what he was able to do. And I have to apply that same mindset to Reservoir Dogs and then look at Pulp Fiction as Empire Strikes Back. So I'm able to do that, but if I'm going to really talk about one of his films, if I'm Courtney, if I'm sitting him in college and I'm going to talk about the director as a director and where he started and all that, sure, then that deserves to stay in court. But talking about my favorite film, that topic, no.
All right.
No, it's not even my top. I guess it's. I mean, he only has 8 or 9 films. So, how many does he have? Actual his films.
I think you're right.
9, right?
I think it's 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Pulp Fiction.
Because there was a rumor for a long time that he was going to finish the Kill Bill trilogy, as they're calling it, with the third Kill Bill. I don't know if that's been confirmed or not. I have not heard anything about that, whether it's been confirmed. But
well, I just Googled it and Little Nicky popped up with Adam Sandler. I'm assuming that's a mistake. Where the hell?
Well,
maybe
he had some input.
I'm not kidding. It's like Hateful Eight and Jackie Brown, Dust of Dawn, Kill Bill, Dust of Dawn, whatever. That's fair. True Romance, okay, whatever. Desperado, Natural Born Killers, Little Nicky. Like what? What?
Yeah, that's
what? Yeah, I'm gonna assume
that's a little shocking.
Yeah. I'm gonna consider that a Google error. I can't say that word. Error.
All right.
Okay, so he's
Era.
So he's probably done with feature films, so he says, but I don't buy it. I know that he's entertained doing a Star Trek movie. I don't know what the status is on that. Is there truth to that?
Wow.
Is that actually?
I don't think. Yeah, I remember him. I remember the rumor around it.
But
it was one of the things he wanted to do. But I don't think anything ever came of it.
But is he at least on a record even referencing that, or is that just complete bullshit? I don't know.
No, I do think he was asked something along the lines of doing a movie, like a franchise type film like that. And I think that was the one he said. If I remember the conversation or the interview correctly, I think that was the one he brought up, that he'd be interested in maybe making. But that's it.
That's it.
I can't.
Got it.
Yeah, I don't think anything ever came of it.
Word.
So the last film he made was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
which is fantastic, by the way.
Okay, I don't think it's fantastic. I think it has really good performances. I don't love it though. I don't know. Maybe the style, I guess, maybe got to me a little bit. I don't know. But Rick, I haven't talked to you about this. Have you seen it?
I have. I've seen it twice, and I
Okay.
kind of agree with you. I'm not its biggest fan. I don't hate it. It's awesome filmmaking, but I will say that the only thing memorable of that movie for me is the gifts it produced.
It did produce a lot of really good gifts.
It did. But
yeah.
But I want to see it again because maybe I just didn't see in the right mindset. But because
the ending is crazy. All his movies are crazy, and the ending is just ridiculously crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I will say this: my top 3 favorite films, honestly, are covered here. I mean, easily.
Yeah.
And if he died, I don't want to wish that. Okay, if he retired tomorrow, just getting these 3, or sake of argument, 4 films, I'm forever grateful. I mean, they are just freaking awesome, man. I love it.
Yeah, he's a controversial director. He really is. It's people see the brilliance, but they don't always like how he gets there. I guess that's the way I can explain it the best. Like, you see how good a filmmaker he is, but the choices he makes, and he's a little odd. He's a little odd guy, so I don't think that helps him. But I agree. I agree, Rick. I think maybe I have Reservoir Dogs higher. Maybe that's my top 3 over the Kill Bill movies. But I mean, it's like night and day. Today it could be that, and tomorrow it could be the other one. So
okay, man. There's not a good ending here. Let's just say that. Can I just say this? I know it's a little cliche, but is there a better line in a Tarantino film than when Tim Roth asks Sam Jackson which one is his wallet, and he says it's the one that says "bad luck" on it.
Yeah,
and it literally says "bad luck." I mean, I and he says it so matter of factly, like, come on, man, it's the one that says, and it's
as if that's his name, and that's what he's saying, which is great. So brilliant.
And he says it, and then he gives him the money, and then that whole, man, we can get into all that. Oh, so good, great discussion, guys. Thank you so much. This is fun. This is the point of the BOF Satellite Show, just to talk about pop culture, fun stuff, filmmakers, whatever we're going to talk about. Courtney, please come back on and join us. And I'm not kidding. You should. Let's look at you doing a show with just you and your boyfriend and just gabbing about Star Wars. I mean, we want some guest hosts to come on And
Absolutely. I'll do it anytime.
I mean, I can't. I don't want this show just to get away from us. It has to have some consistency and some theme. But you would be great at that. So, but anyway, we've got.
I'm game. I'm always game to talk about the fun things I spend all my time watching. So,
yeah, it's
talking
fun.
about and discussing.
Well, we're gonna do some plugs now. So I'm gonna plug first because then I'll end the show. But just follow me on Twitter at ShewRick, ShewRick. Follow our new show at BOF Show. It's BOF Show. And the third episode of the Batman on Film show. This is fun. My buddy Bob Seska, who's got his podcast, his famous popular political podcast, whatever you want to call. I don't even know the right words to use sometimes. I just know a lot of people like it, and he's great. And then Freak Base. We were all on a private Twitter message, and Bob had this idea. He's like, "Hey man, for one of the satellite shows, we should talk about a shitty comic book movie, but some things we like about it, or things we love about it, like things you love about a comic book movie you hate." I went, "Dude, that's brilliant. I love that.
That's a great idea.
It's a great idea." I'm not going to tell you guys what they're talking about. I say you guys, meaning the audience here, but I'll say mine is Batman Returns, and I'm really looking forward to discussing things I love about it, because as much as I kind of do hate that movie, 25% of it I love, and I'm just going to talk about that 25%. That's going to be a really positive experience to be able to do that.
That's great. That's really fun.
And I'll give you two words that kind of revolve around most of that is Michelle Pfeiffer. But yeah, and then there's a lot of cool stuff on the horizon with this. Eric, I'm not sure if you've got a show you're going to do yet. I know Ryan Lauer is going to do. I said his name right. He's going to do Toy Story stuff. I know that Back to the Future, I think Ryan Haas is going to do Ghostbusters with Paul Herman, and obviously I want to cover The Matrix. I think Bill's still going to get around to doing Smoking the Bandit. Eric, what are you going to do? What are you going to do for this? What are you going to host? What's in your wheelhouse?
I haven't really thought about it, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, you're juggling 9,000 podcasts with Pete alone. I don't know if you have time for anything.
No, that's Pete. Pete's the one who has the Spider-Man show, and he does the BOF stuff with Bill during the day, and then of course he has Straight Outta Gotham as my co-host, so I guess I'll start there. If you guys want to check me out on Twitter, it's at finally33. You can check me out there. As I just mentioned, I co-host Straight Outta Gotham, and on Twitter it's at straight_O_G. It's a show that's mostly comic based, but we kind of throw some New York stuff in it, since Pete and I are both from the New York area. So if you haven't checked it out and you want to listen to us, check us out over there. We're on everywhere that they have podcasts, so just search for Straight Outta Gotham and you'll find us there. I also am reviewing DC's Titans for Batman on Film. DC's Titans on HBO Max. We are up to episode 7, I believe. Yes, so we're up to episode 7. All 6 of my reviews for season 3 are there. So if you guys want to hear my opinions on that show, go ahead and check them out.
Awesome. Courtney Cheek, plug away, my friend.
I'm on Twitter at Courtney Cheek. I'm not too active on Twitter. I probably need to be better about that. But Instagram, I'm more active, and that's Courtney Elizabeth Cheek. So yeah, but I'm excited. I really appreciate you guys having me on, and I will gladly come back at any point. So I'm gonna have to check out all these new shows. I'm excited.
Well, we're excited to have you back. I mean that. You have a great spirit, a wonderful, fun personality, and you're a bundle of joy. So thank you, man. Thank you. I mean that. Thank you. And you know what the hell you're talking about. That's a dangerous combo, my friend. All right, guys. So listen, I'm Rick Shew. Thanks for listening. Remember to follow everything Batman on Film related. Eric, help me out here. It is at Batman Pod Network. That's our proper handle, right?
At Bat Pod Network.
At Bat Pod Network, not Batman Pod. At Bat Pod Network. Thank you. Follow. I always screw that up. It's weird. It's like I can't. I will always screw it up. At Bad Pod Network, and that'll have everything. The only handle that's not on there is Team Yellow Oval. So follow that as well. That's a Pete. It's a Pete Vera thing.
Yes.
Yes. I gotta give that dude credit, man. Maybe he's responsible for Keaton's return of the Yellow Oval. I don't know. It's crazy. Anyway, I'm your host, Rick Shew. We appreciate the support. We love you guys. And now announcer Rachel will take us out.
You've been listening to the Batman on Film Satellite Show, BOF's non-Batman pop culture podcast. Follow the show on Twitter at BOF Show. Follow BOF on Twitter at The Batman on Film. For all of Team BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Authoritative, definitive, the original Batman on film, established in 1998.